Hi guys, my name is Nolima Dikela. Welcome to my YouTube channel. So today I want us to talk about the second part because in our previous video we spoke about something else, but right now we are going to talk about the pattern of concealment, how the investigation curated the truth on the Senzo Meyiwa trial. In the previous video, we exposed a single act of concealment, but justice does not collapse from one mistake. It collapses from repetition, reputation and repetition. That is how it collapses. Because when the same kind of omission happens again and again and again, it stops being coincident. It becomes design. So today we are no longer asking whether the state hid the arrest of Gwabini. Today we are asking a far more dangerous question. How many truths were filtered before they reached the courtroom? How many truths were filtered before they reached the courtroom? So that is why now we are saying in this video what a pattern of concealment really means. That's what we are focusing on. A pattern does not require forged documents, planted evidence, dramatic conspiracies. It requires something simpler and far more effective: control of context. You don't change the facts, you edit the surroundings. You don't lie, you omit. And omission is the quietest form of deception. Let's go to Exhibit A, witnesses without witness boxes. Through this trial, Brigadier Gininda repeatedly referenced individuals, Absalom Zungu, Gwabini, others said to confirm the breakthrough, and they were cited as pillars of the investigation. But here is the problem. The state never called them. Why? Because calling a witness means cross-examination, exposure of inconsistencies, testing of pressure and inducement. So instead, the names were used as props, not evidence. The court was asked to accept their alleged versions without ever hearing their voices. That is not how trials work. Exhibit B, statements without circumstances. Statements were presented as if they were spontaneous, voluntarily, uncontaminated, but arrests were hidden, detentions were downplayed, timelines were blurred. Once again, the state showed the product but concealed the process. And in law, the process is everything. Exhibit C, forensics without foundation. We saw it with the bullets, the casing, the chain of custody. Critical facts emerge only under cross-examination. Unsecure scenes, later arrivals, missing safeguards. Each revelation followed the same pattern: silence in chief, exposure under pressure. That is not full disclosure, that is damage control. That is damage control. Why this matters more than guilt or innocence? Courts do not convict on narratives. They convict on reliable, tested evidence. When context is stripped away, evidence loses meaning, credibility fractures, fairness disappears. This is why appellate courts don't ask, did the state have a story? They ask, was the defense given everything needed to test it? And here the answer keeps coming back: no. No, no, and a very big no. Let's look at the investigator's role and how it was crossed. An investigator's duty is simple: gather facts, disclose all material information, let the court decide. But when an investigator begins to curate witnesses, filter context, manage perception, he stops serving justice and starts protecting a version. That is exactly what Geninda is about. That is exactly what Geninda is about. And versions do not belong in criminal trials. They don't. Now, they ended up having to deal with the cumulative effect death by 1,000 omissions. Each omission alone may look survivable, right? Together, they are fatal. A hidden arrest here, a missing witness there, a delayed disclosure elsewhere, the law recognizes this. It is called cumulative prejudice. And cumulative prejudice destroys trials, even when no single act looks catastrophic in isolation. Why the state is now in trouble? Because because appellate courts are allergic to patterns. They forgive mistakes, they do not forgive methods. Once a pattern of concealment is established, every piece of evidence becomes suspect, not because it is false, but because it was managed. And now we have the unavoidable question. So now the question is no longer, did the state prove its case? The real question is, did the court ever see the whole case? Because justice cannot be done on a version that was filtered before it arrived. Mm-mm. That is what Ugininda did when it comes to this case. He was busy filtering because now when Kwabini comes, he tells us a different story than what Gininda was telling the court. When Absalom Zungu comes, he told us a different story than what Gininda wanted the court to believe and the public. History is watching. The trial is no longer about Senzo Meyiwa. It is about whether disclosure still means disclosure. Investigators still serve courts, and the truth still arrives unedited. Because once concealment becomes method, justice becomes theater, and courts do not exist to applaud performances. They exist to test the truth. That is what was needed here. And Ugininda failed dismally. He could not produce something that is going to stand in a court of law. He failed that. He failed on that one dismally. Whether they see the people that see him as excellent, see him as black excellent, or whatsoever, including Baloyi, they are both problematic when it comes to the Senzo Meyiwa case, because Ubaloyi has this plus minus 30 years experience in the NPA. Ugininda has this plus minus 30 years experience in the policing department. And yet they do these things. They do these selective disclosures knowingly. Knowingly, you cannot disclose certain aspects and others are not. You cannot unfilter. In fact, you cannot filter. You need to unfilter the case and bring it as it is. Let the court decide. So, guys, that is what's happening when it comes to the Senzo Meyiwa case. And I want us to have a full discussion, a quick comment section about that. You tell me, what are your thoughts? Do you think that estate is going to survive this? Do you think that estate, Judge Ratta, is going to deal with this nonsense as it is? Do you think Judge Ratta is going to be fair on his judgment when it comes to this? Because a lot has went wrong. A lot gone wrong in this case. A lot is questionable. There's too much that is questionable. What is Judge Ratta going to do when it comes to this? What is Judge Ratta going to do when it comes to this? Do you think in fact, his attitude says so many things, and so many things, meaning that he is, a judge is supposed to be neutral and we don't know what he thinks. But when it comes to Ratta, we know that he behaves, or we at least see him as thinking that the accused are guilty. And Gininda is a saint. That is what we see when it comes to Judge Ratta. That is how he speaks of Gininda. He speaks highly of Gininda. He speaks highly of George Baloyi. And all of that, Shende, we are not saying he's supposed to bash them, but he bashes the defense lawyers. So, yeah, That is why we question him and we ask a lot of questions. That is exactly the reason. What are your thoughts when it comes to this? What do you think about this in concealment of situations, the arrest of Gwabini? What are your thoughts? Let's have a full discussion. Please make sure you stick around because there's a lot of where this video is coming from. We are going to be busy talking about all of them and giving full disclosures and stuff and things that we never spoke about before or visit previous evidences and stuff. What are your thoughts? I'll see you on our next video. Bye-bye.